I told myself it was just a brief escape, a little time to feel alive again. My husband, Daniel, was a good man, but lately our marriage had become nothing more than routine. Quiet dinners, tired mornings, and empty words. Then an old flame, Ryan, reached out, promising excitement. I gave in. I booked a secret trip with him, telling Daniel I was going away with friends, to make sure nothing interrupted me. I blocked his number before boarding the plane. The trip was everything I imagined. Lavish dinners, laughter, stolen kisses that made me feel young again. With Ryan, I forgot my responsibilities, my vows, and the man waiting at home. Every night, I told myself it was harmless, that I could return to my life and Daniel would never know. I thought I was clever enough to hide it, but guilt crept in during quiet moments. I silenced my phone to ignore it, avoiding the thought of checking in with Daniel. I didn't want to see his messages, his calls, his concern. For a week, I lived in a fantasy while Daniel had no idea where I was or why I'd vanished without a word. When the trip ended, I felt a strange mix of dread and relief. On the flight home, I unblocked Daniel's number, expecting a flood of missed calls and worried messages. But there was nothing. My stomach tightened. But I told myself maybe he was giving me space. Maybe he'd scold me later. I walked into our house with a forced smile, ready to pretend everything was normal. But something was wrong. It was too quiet. His shoes weren't by the door, his jacket wasn't on the chair, and his cologne was missing. On the kitchen counter, I found a letter with my name, written in his familiar handwriting. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Emily, it began. I don't know where you went or why you shut me out, but your silence told me everything I needed to know. A husband should never have to beg for a place in his wife's life. I waited. I worried. And I realized I deserve more than being blocked out of your world. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I won't wait for explanations anymore. Goodbye. The words cut deeper than any confrontation could. My chest burned, my knees weakened, and I collapsed into a chair. I wanted to call him, to scream that it wasn't what he thought, but I knew it was exactly what he thought. My betrayal had spoken louder than any defense I could offer. Days turned into weeks. There was no sign of Daniel. He didn't answer calls, messages, or even letters I sent to his parents. It was as if he had erased me from his life completely, leaving me alone in the silence of the home we once shared. I had traded loyalty for temporary excitement, and the cost was permanent. Ryan tried contacting me afterward, but I ignored him. The thrill I had chased now felt sickening. He wasn't part of my future and never had been. All I wanted was Daniel back. But the more time passed, the clearer it became that he wasn't coming. He had finally chosen himself over me. I remembered the little things I'd taken for granted. How he filled my car with gas. How he brewed coffee in the mornings. How he called me home whenever I felt lost. Now, those small acts of love replayed in my mind like punishments. I had wanted excitement, but I had destroyed the stability that truly mattered. My friends noticed a change. They asked why I looked pale, why my wedding ring was gone. I couldn't admit the truth. I simply said Daniel, and I had grown apart. In reality, I had shattered something unbreakable, and he had left before I could beg for forgiveness. Months later, divorce papers arrived. They were straightforward, without anger, without bitterness, just finality. He didn't want revenge. He didn't even want to fight. He simply wanted freedom from me. Signing them felt like the last nail sealing the coffin of our life together. Sometimes at night, I pick up my phone and stare at his contact, wondering if he ever thinks of me. But I know I'll never hear his voice again, never see his smile, never feel his quiet love. My choice on that trip didn't just break our marriage. It erased a man who had once promised forever. In the end, I learned that love isn't about excitement or passion. It's about loyalty, respect, and the quiet comfort of trust. I lost Daniel because I forgot that. And though life goes on, my heart remains haunted by the memory of a husband I blocked out, only to realize too late that he had blocked me out forever.